One. So we are live. Good to see you. Glad to see everybody here. Let's do this. Let's get busy. Let's jump into it. Just to remind everybody, John Legere, one of our Canadian friends, is being forced to leave. Yeah, not by choice. His company doesn't want him to go. Again, just an idiotic government that doesn't know what it's doing is absolutely blowing it. They just don't know how to run our immigration system. They don't anything. And this is the result. Somebody that we want here, that is productive, that is absolutely who we want in this country. Somebody that's getting it done, a member of our community, absolutely who you want here. Nope. Got to go home, John. Got to go home because we have idiots running our country. And I'm very sorry, John. It breaks my heart. And everybody in the community will tell you, this is just a picture perfect. I didn't see this coming for what we're going to discuss in the show today. Just a picture perfect example of a real person, a good person, a decent person, a person that is absolutely somebody you want here as your neighbor. Can't be because of incompetence, stupidity. And just to show what we talk about today has real repercussions. This is one of the pictures that's just become wildly viral. Several from this meeting back on just a couple days ago. The president held a meeting in the Oval Office. Couldn't keep his eyes open. Couldn't do it. He's sleeping through disaster. Of course, you've got Katie Britt, famous for her baby fundy weirdo voice from her kitchen reply to the State of the Union. She talked in a weird baby fundy voice. Yeah, she's sitting there talking. Trump can't stay awake. Just can't do it. Doesn't really give a shit. Doesn't care enough that, hey, I've called this meeting in the Oval Office to talk about women's issues, doesn't care. Really doesn't care. And that is just perfect as another example of what we're going to talk about today. That what we're going to talk about, what's happening in the country, where it's going, what I'm afraid of, what this is all about. We're going to talk about, a lot of you have bought pins. A lot of you have bought into the ride or die. Let me see my ride or die people. Hearts and skulls in the comments, please. Have bought into the ride or die movement. And I think it's only fair that you fully understand where I'm coming on this and where I'm going with this? What is the meaning behind it all? What is the purpose behind it? Where are we going? Why are we even doing it? It is deeper than you think it is, and I think it's only fair that since you've jumped on and you come along for the ride and you are part of the movement, and that should be a clue. This is a movement. I keep talking about this is a movement. Movements do things in history. And if you're going to wear this pin, I think it's only fair that you know ahead of time what this movement's going to do, what it's all about. So let's just dig into it. This is what's going on in the world right now. We just got an inflation report back that is hot, hot. Remember, we've talked about it before. What we're looking for in inflation numbers, we want slight inflation. We do. That's the sign of a healthy economy. 2 to 2.4% is where we want it. That's where we want it. Well, it came in last month at 3.8%. Even people that were expecting inflation, even people like me, I've been preaching about it. If you're new to the audience, first of all, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button so that you can be a regular here and we can get this out to people. But you people that are regulars here have heard me say this over and over and over again. Yeah, we're just getting started on the inflation. I've been warning about this for a very long time, but even I was shocked at the 3.8 number. I was expecting 3.5, 3.6. That's where Wall Street was at. That's where the big money people were at. They're like, yeah, we're going to see some inflation. This bottle rocket is lit. It has taken off. We are heading, yes, exactly, face first into stagflation. We are. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the people that know what the hell they're talking about are saying and where it's leading us and why, again, I do what I do. Because do you follow me on social media? I get in a lot of hot water on the left. I do, because I won't go with fringe stuff. I won't go with follow people that are heading down a path to burn it all down. People, fuck them, fuck them. I that's just where I'm at. I have no use for them. But these people that want to have these movements where they grift, they make money, and some of them are sincere. Some of them are sincere in their beliefs. They think they're making change, and but things like, oh, cancel Democrats that we don't agree with 100% and things like that. I fight against that, and it gets me into a lot of hot water on the left. It does. It gets me in a lot of hot water on the left. But that's okay. That's okay, because we're doing something intentionally. We're doing something. We're going to elaborate on that a little bit more. Before we do, I want to set this lens up for you to look through. This is Warren Buffett. If you don't know who Warren Buffett is, his moniker is the Oracle of Omaha. He is one of those most successful investors in world history. Has at one point was the richest man in the world. Yeah, he still has things to say. He's retired. He's no longer running Berkshire Hathaway. He's retired, but he's not dead, and he's still talking. He's still talking, still giving advice. And some of the advice he's given is, we need to get a handle on this. He is warning investors of oncoming disaster. He is warning investors to move into safe investments now. He is talking about what safe investments are. Again, I am not your financial advisor. I'll tell you things that I'm doing. Like recently when I saw this cycle of Trump and his tacoing out, I told you I moved back into the market. I bought the dip. I did. I rode the wave. And I'm telling you now, I'm getting back the fuck out. I am. I am moving back out. But that is not me advising you. You need to know your financial position. You need to know what you can and cannot do. Talk to intelligent people, talk to advisors. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me for financial advice. Please don't. That's not what I do for a living. I listen to people that are much smarter than me, and Warren Buffett is absolutely screaming about this. If you're again, if you're new to the audience, this is something I have talked about repeatedly. This is a recurring theme in the show. Valuations make no sense right now in any of the markets. None make any sense whatsoever. And I've backed it up with receipts and show after show after show. Elon Musk should not be one of the richest men in the world. He should. His companies don't earn enough for their valuation to be so different than any other car manufacturer. Tesla actually is underperforming other car manufacturers. There's no reason Tesla stock should be valued the way it is. I'm not the only one saying that. And that's not the only stock. There's, a lot of these AI stocks. I'm warning about the AI bubble. I'm warning about the fact that, hey, look, everybody's saying the math doesn't math on this AI stuff. There's no way to get a return on investment. This is going to crash. It's just destined to crash. The math doesn't math. And I'm not the only one saying it. Warren Buffett just came out and reminded everybody about the Shiller profit to earnings ratio. This is not something that I'm pulling out of my ass. This is something that people track. They keep track of. The index that you want to look at when you're talking about valuations to earning is the Shiller profit to earnings ratio. And this is what it looks like. This is where it's at right now. This is an actual graph with actual data. You can go back and take a look at the data behind it. But this is it. This is the Shiller PE ratio. And this is where we're at. This peak right here, in case you can't see the small numbers there, the date on that is July 1929. July 1929 is that peak right there, right here. Can anybody tell me what happened a couple months later in October of 1929? Yes, this is an interactive show. Yes, I speak to you directly. I know some of you are watching it on replay. Bingo. Bingo. The crash followed by the Great Depression. Now, the crash wasn't directly responsible for the depression, but we're not going to do a whole show on the economics around the depression. There was more to it than just the stock crash. Hence all the new policies, the New Deal, everything that came out afterwards. Yeah, we changed the way we did business. We learned and moved on. That was that peak. And the Shiller ratio in July of 1929, where it peaked out, was 31.48. Fast forward to this massive peak. This is October. If I can get it to settle there, close enough. We'll just say October 1999, where it peaked. At 43.21 is the Shiller ratio. Anybody remember what happened right after October 1999? Anybody remember? I know it's been a while back, and some of you young folks were playing on playgrounds when this happened. That was the dot-com bubble. That was the dot-com bubble. There you go. I knew somebody that came out the exact same time as Greg Edmond. A couple of you had it. Which was, yes, immediately followed by the Iraq War, because that's what Republicans do when shit is hitting the fan. That's very important parallel to what's going on today. Yeah, the war in Iraq, the war in Iran, that is pretty much, well, their answer to stuff like this, because today we're at 4208 is the Schiller ratio. 4208. We're at another peak. What's going to happen in a couple months? We know historically from looking at the Schiller ratio what happens. We've seen it over and over and over again. What's going to happen, folks? This isn't rocket science. These guys on Wall Street don't have some special knowledge. This is something I keep trying to impart onto you, is that billionaires aren't particularly bright. They just have access to information about their specialized fields. And they've got people that they pay to tell them what I'm telling you right now. What's going to happen? We know by looking at the Schiller ratio what we're headed towards, what is about to happen. We're about to have a massive massive crash. And not just a crash, because every one of those instances where you saw that happen was followed by war, was followed by instability, was not a good time, folks. Think about it. When this happened, were people smart? No, they elected George W. Bush. And where did that lead us? The 2007, 2008 crash that almost ended us. Folks, it's not hyperbole to say back in 2007, 2008, we were wondering if we were going to survive as a country. Was our banking system going to completely go insolvent? These crashes, they're not pain-free for the average person. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that today, because not only are we seeing another crash, but we're seeing stupidity from the ruling class. And folks, this is not a new record. This is a cover. This is not a new song. This is a cover of a very, very, very old song. Folks, people are starting to discuss, are we still a liberal democracy, or have the Republicans gone too far? See, these market crashes always coincide with stupid government. Stupid government. And how bad it is on the other side of it is directly reflected by how stupid that government is. Bad things will happen. Markets will go up, markets will go down. It will happen. What happens on the other side of it has everything to do with how stupid your government is when it happens. Take the Great Depression, for instance. It didn't have to happen. But, hey, we had a laissez-faire government. We had a stupid government. We had a Hoover. People that thought, oh, well, the rich will be rich. They'll figure it out. Yeah, it's directly related. And people are starting to coin this term, competitive authoritarianism. Good Lord. Competitive authoritarianism doesn't quite roll off the tongue, so I don't think it's going to be a big hit. But among people like us, and I want to remind you, if you're here watching this, you're not one of the stupids. We have to be very aware when we talk about this. One of the lenses that we have to look through when we talk about this is that most people affected and involved were not you. They weren't. Most people that were directly affected by these things that we're about to talk about were the stupids. They're the people that either can't understand or don't pay attention or don't, they're not informed like you. They don't read history books. They don't, it's Cletus. You always hear me talk about Cletus. It's Cletus. Remember that as we talk about this, because that's where this comes in. I am forming a community of you, informed people that can big picture things. Why? Well, here's why. Let me explain the whole ride or die movement. Let's talk about a few things that have happened, similar situations in the past. Don't glaze over, don't hang, don't leave because we're talking about history. This is all tied in today. Stick with me. It's really interesting. These situations have not, this isn't new. This isn't a one-off. One of the most famous examples everybody likes to talk about is the French Revolution. That was where Louis XVI was deposed and his wife Marie Antoinette. They were both put to the guillotine. Now, let's talk about these two for a second. Louis XVI was an idiot. He was a clueless twat. He was very much like Miss Lindsey Graham. Everybody knew he was gay, and it didn't matter to anybody, but he was so involved with being gay that he didn't do his fucking job. He just didn't. He didn't care. Just like Lindsey Graham doesn't really care. There's no spine behind Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham says what he has to say because he thinks that'll get him reelected in South Carolina. And everybody keeps telling Lindsey Graham, nobody cares, man. This is a new era. Nobody cares that you're gay. Lead. It's going to be okay. You don't have to hide so deep in the closet that, you're living Narnia. I mean, that's who Louis XVI was. He was a twat. And France had problems, man. Massive inflation, massive debt. You had a system that wasn't working for the people. It was only working for the ultra wealthy. And the ultra wealthy were openly corrupt. Any of this sounding familiar? Bueller. Hello, Bueller. Any of this sounding familiar? It should. I hope it should. And people that are paying attention will know. And Marie Antoinette was so obviously clueless that she said, the phrase that you hear attributed to her all the time is "let them eat cake." When she was told that the French peasants were out of bread, she said, "let them eat cake." Well, actually, she didn't say "let them eat cake." She said, "let them eat brioche." She was so clueless and out of touch that when her advisors told her, hey, they're out of bread, when they were talking about bread, they were talking about, traditional French bread, baguettes. Well, she's like, well, let them eat brioche. It wasn't really cake like birthday cake, you know what I mean? With the meaning. Anyways, it's not important. The meaning was the same. She was so clueless that when somebody came to her and said, exactly, Big Daddy, exactly, the parallel, exactly. When somebody said, your people are starving, Or, gas. People can't afford to put gas in their cars. They can't buy groceries. People are having to give up medication. This is happening. Her response was, well, if they don't have bread, let them eat brioche. That would be akin to people saying, look, hey, Trump, Melania, hey, you need to talk to your husband because, man, people can't even buy McDonald's anymore. Sales at McDonald's, we talked about this in the last show. Sales at McDonald's are tanking. Big red flag. And that would be the same as Melania answering that question. Well, let them go to Burger King. It's that kind of detachment. It's that kind of detachment. And people didn't respond well. We're going to talk about a couple events that have happened in history and then more recent history, and we're going to tie all this together. So stick with me. People did not respond well. This is what happens when people get this upset. I want to catch up on some of the comments, and then we'll get back to it. Mike Daly, the dim morning, brother. Trump going to China and sleeping through the negotiations will give our sleep specialist a new China syndrome diagnosis. Yeah, that is where we're kind of going with this. Trump is in China today with his hat in hand, trying to get Xi to give him some good news. He's over there begging off Xi, trying to look for a win because our economy's in the tank. It is. He started a war in Iran. Now he's got to go ask China to fix it. He's begging Xi today. Peter Campbell, thank you, brother. Thank you for gifting the memberships. Rich Lawton gifted 10 memberships. If you do not have a membership, this community is giving you one for free. These generous people in this community want you to be able to use all the emojis and have all of the text coloring and everything that comes with membership to be part of the community. They're inviting you in for free. All you have to do is hit the join button. Kyra loves Michael. Thanks for supporting the show, Kyra. I appreciate it. Jordan B. Miller, doze off Don. Exactly. Let them eat Burger King. Virgo Moon, welcome. Glad to see the new members. Absolutely. Melissa Grubb, Texas Paul has a merchandise page. You can find it on the main page for the channel. Just pick up the pins and coffee mugs. Picked up the pins and the coffee mugs for my daughter and myself. They're awesome. I'm glad. This is a self-defense mechanism. These things are badass, man. We didn't just do anything. We found mugs you could beat somebody with. That's terrible. But you give somebody a concussion, you chuck this bad boy at him, you give him a concussion, man. Thank you. That was awful nice of you, Melissa. Marta, Musk made his money on our taxes. He's the biggest welfare recipient. Yeah, they are. That is the parallel I'm drawing today. These wealthy sons of bitches that are completely clueless, that are so corrupt, in our face corrupt. Even when they're being held to account, they're getting off. Rich kid rapists don't go to jail. They don't. The Epstein files, we've got them. We've got the FBI has the data. The Department of Justice has the investigations, and none of these. Lex Wexner's not in jail. He didn't go to jail. No, we're seeing it. It's in our face. And Trump's screaming profanities at reporters for asking about his ballroom. You're stupid. I doubled the size of it. You're stupid. Yeah, that's going to be pretty relevant here in just a minute. Jordan B. Miller, AI market reminds me of the dot-com market crash of the 90s. Yep. Chandra Patton, thank you for being so generous, Chandra. Thank you for always being here. Thank you so much. I'm truly grateful you were here. Marshall Cash, do you think we will see another depression? I don't like to do doomsayer shit. I don't. And I like to hope that we've learned from the past, but this is such a imbecilic. The Republicans control all three branches of government, and the Republicans can't govern. Remember, their answer for COVID was to pretend it wasn't happening. Just that was their answer. Pretend it wasn't happening. That's why Joe Biden had to get vials and needles and all the work that he had to do when he took office. Well, these are the same people that are going to be in charge during this crash. Yeah, because it's going to happen before Trump leaves office. It is. Not at all. I have to say that I've been waiting for it to come. I've been trying to prepare myself for it. Everybody should. Dry goods in the pantry. Learn how to make bread. Yeah. Learn how to make bread. Beans. You know what? I grew up in South Texas. Uh, Mexican culture is my culture. It is, you cannot grow up in South Texas without Mexican culture being part of your culture. You can't. I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, whatever. You grew up in South Texas, Mexican culture is a big part of your culture. And I will tell you, they are smart when it comes to food. Look at the way Mexicans eat. High calorie, their recipes stretch meat, the use of corn, the use of flour, the use of beans. Beans are fantastic. They are fantastic. You've got super healthy. I mean, they're super healthy. The soluble fiber prevents cancer. It's yeah. I'm telling you. I don't want to get sidetracked, but yeah, do a little. I am. We are. We are. Mrs. Texas Paul is the sourdough queen, man. We're eating good bread here, man. She makes awesome bread. Do it. You will put a little sunshine in these dark clouds. Take things like this that are happening, shit situations, because again, we're going to talk about the people that are drug along for the ride versus the people that are doing shit. That's part of this show. If you're going to be drug along for the ride, smooth out the road a little bit. Bring some sunshine into your life. Learn how to make bread. Do it. Do it. You'll be glad you did. Trey Sims, 62. Thanks for all you do, Texas Paul. I'm glad to see you here. Glad to see the new subscribers. And thank you for allowing me to do this. I cannot do it without you. You people provide me the means to do this. Mike Daly the Dim. Now we have Marie Antoinette in the White House. Yep. Sure do. Sure do. And by the way, Colin Allred reached out. He's going to be on the show Friday. Dax Alexander is going to be on the show Friday. I know you don't know Dax, but he's a great guy. I'm going to introduce you to him anyways. He's going to be on the show Friday. So yeah, Friday is going to be a great show, folks. It is. Colin Allred's reached out, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him. It's going to be a good show. LJ Jones, thank you for gifting the memberships. Casey, welcome. Glad to see the new members. Jeremy Breeden, thank you. Slap Your Mama. History is so important. Yeah. History may not exactly repeat itself, but I guarantee you it's going to rhyme. Jeff Schuler, Cletus is still waiting on his Trump phone that he was going to pay for with his Doge tariff check. Can't fix stupid. Yeah. These people are who they are. And you've got a job here. E.T., did you see the ecological impact on the Utah AI? Yes, I did. I've been following that, as well as the water theft, as well as it is huge. This is something that we're going to be able to capitalize on and move our country in the right direction, because that kind of pain is very eye-opening for people. Christopher Daly, if someone can gift me a membership, I would. They're available. Hit the join button. Glenn Kaneko, there you go. Brother Glenn. Always here helping out, man. ET, it is less than 25 weeks until the general election. Verify your voter registration and deadline dates. Know your early voting dates. Get involved. Amen. A couple more and we're going to get right back to work. Crafty Ash Gardner, look at that. Look at the generosity in this community, people. If you're not part of this community, you need to be. You need to be. These are good people. 14 cutie baby. So we ready to go all go to the Capitol and drag them all out yet? Just wondering. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Which perfect segue. You know, we talked about the French Revolution, so let me ask the question. Is revolution necessary? Is it necessary? This is a real question to you, the audience. So I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Hope your coffee is as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. I really do. I hope you're having a good cup of coffee today. I'm going to take a sip of my wonderful coffee, which, by the way, thank you for sending the peach. I love the peach. I do. I love the peach. Thank you for sending it. I'm very grateful. Is revolution necessary? And yes, I'm going to give you an answer, and I'm not going to hedge. A lot of people saying yes, yes. A lot of people saying no, no, definitely not. Here's the answer, and this is the right answer. Sometimes, sometimes it is. Sometimes government is so bad for so long and there are no other options. Sometimes revolution is necessary. But here's the kick in the shorts. Is revolution good for the people? Is revolution good for the people? I'm talking about us. I'm talking about not, is it good for the people? Again, a lot of varying answers. I love you folks. A lot of varying answers. Um, I'm going to give you the true answer, the one that doesn't make anybody happy. Almost never in the short term. Almost never. They're ugly. They're not resolved quickly. And they create power vacuums that the worst of us. This is why I fight these radicals on the left, because if there's a collapse of the Republican Party, which I'm very hard trying to make happen, what will fill the void in that power vacuum will come from us. And it won't be the unsexy, measured, intelligent people that are speaking truth to power, that are talking about, hey, let's, no, it's going to be people like Robespierre, Maximilian Robespierre, that are going to fill that power vacuum. While we're talking about the French Revolution, Robespierre. If you don't know who Max is here, Max Robespierre, he's a fucking psychopath. And this is what pisses me off about historians. They rarely ever speak the truth. They're good for information, but they rarely speak the truth. Max Robespierre they call him a fanatic. He was a moralist fanatic. He was a psychopath. Let me tell you, this is a portrait. Portraits are always made to make you look pretty. They did a facial reconstruction with historic information. This is what Robespierre looked like. That's Max. Yeah. This dude was fucking terrifying. But when the revolution happened, he was the good guy. He was the good guy until he wasn't. And folks, they didn't stop. That's the problem with these revolutions is they create power vacuums and there's literally no one to push back. So rarely do these revolutions stop. And they didn't in the French Revolution either. I mean, it just went on and on and on. Anytime people got pissed off at somebody with a little bit of power and money, hey, let's do it again. And they drag them out and cut their goddamn head off. Stick them in a guillotine, chop their head off. And it went on and on and on. So you can imagine after the French Revolution wasn't a good time. It wasn't. It wasn't good for the people. It wasn't good for the economy. All the problems that led to the revolution, none of that was getting fixed until finally the few people left that had their heads turned to this guy. And I know you know who this guy is. And no, he wasn't short. He wasn't short. That was propaganda. Yeah, he's the one that sent Robespierre packing. And for a little while, he was good. He was good. He was. A lot of the reforms that he put in place were good for the average person, dealt with a lot of the corruption. The you talk about highway robbery. A lot of that phrase was fomented from what was going on in France at the time because during the when the revolution started, again, it left a weak government in place. If you could, and they just there was nobody really keeping order. So yeah, people were robbed on the road all the time. Highway robbery was a huge thing. Bonaparte put an end to that. And he was good until he wasn't. Folks, from Bonaparte's time to what we consider this iteration of the French government, or as they call it, the Fifth Republic. How long do you think? I mean, what year do you think a really good for the people government actually took place? Something that we consider a real democracy, because they had several iterations. We're in the fifth iteration now, the Fifth Republic. What year do you think it took before it finally stuck and got good for the people? I'll tell you, you'll never guess this. It was 1959. That's how long the chaos and wars. It was 1959 before the Fifth Republic was really established. They went that long. Yeah. So let's go back and think about that again. Are rebellions good for the people? Not usually. Not usually. Are they necessary? Yeah. Yeah, they are. So what do we do? We learn. We learn. We do better. That's what this is all about. We're going to get to it here in a minute. I want to give you a couple more examples. A couple more examples of shit that happened. You're going to like this one. You're going to like this one. If you're like me and you like bacon, you're going to like this one. You're going to like this one. We're going to talk about the Bacon Rebellion. Okay, that was a lie. It had nothing to do with bacon. It had nothing to do with bacon. Oh my god. No, the Bacon Rebellion. This is one of the most significant moments in our history that they never talk about in school. They never talk about in school. And again, stick with me. This isn't a history class. This all applies to today. I'm drawing the parallels there. We very much have a Marie Antoinette, Louis the 16th government. The wealthy have really become detached from reality. These parallels are there. Let's talk about the Bacon Rebellion. This is Sir William Berkeley. Sir William Berkeley was the governor of the crown appointed governor of the Virginia colony. And if you know anything about your history, even a little bit, and again, I'm Cliff's noting this stuff, folks. I am. These are all very complex over a very long period of time. I'm Cliff's noting these because we're going to make a point. I don't want to turn this into a freaking history class and have people's eyes glaze over. I want to keep it interesting. So yeah, I'm going to Cliff's notes this. This is Sir William Berkeley. If you know, things didn't go real swimmingly in Virginia, especially around the 1670s. They didn't go really well. They damn near starved to death. The Indians saved them, hence the whole myth behind Thanksgiving and all of that. And Jamestown was the capital. Here's the problem. There were Indians that wanted to trade. They were communities, the tribes, and our history. They tend to denigrate them to lesser than people. They weren't. They were successful societies. They just weren't Western European. They didn't dress the same. They didn't speak the same, but they were successful and they traded with us. Yes, the Whiskey Rebellion is another one. I actually decided not to talk about the Whiskey Rebellion. I wanted to talk about the Bacon Rebellion because everybody loves bacon, and it's a cool story. And it was actually one of the most seminal moments that changed it. You get these points in our timeline that deflect us in a direction, and the Bacon Rebellion was huge for us, and we never talk about it. Why is it called the Bacon Rebellion? Okay, we're getting there. So what was happening was you had natives, first people that traded with us that we had a good relationship with, but then you had others that saw us as invading enemies and they attacked us, and they did. But Berkeley there, he had his buddies, typical shit problems that you have. No, not Francis Bacon. Good guess though. Good guess. You had these attacks going on, and it was interfering with trade. Trade wasn't going all that well. The Virginia colony was not all that. It was a rough start, man. It was a rough start. And then you had Berkeley there that was taking care of his bros. When they put their militia together, they only took care of his wealthy landowners that were friends of him. If you were a poor farmer, if you were a colonist, or on the outs or whatever, you were on your own, man. And they got sick of it because they were a little bit smarter. They understood, hey, we got this Indian tribe over here that we trade with. These are good people, man. And you're Berkeley, you're armed idiots are killing these people and pissing them off. And they're not our enemies. So what happened? Blacks, slaves, indentured servants, and freed black men. There were some free black men at the time. And poor whites got together and said, enough of this shit. You will not protect us. We'll protect ourselves. But you're not welcome here. You're keep your damn militia out of here. They're nothing but a problem. And that created a fight with the militia. And shit was chaotic. In steps Nathaniel Bacon. And here's the problem with these revolutions, right? They always start with the people, but they end up being controlled by somebody. In steps Nathaniel Bacon. Because Cletus can't lead a revolution. He can't. He can't. Cletus can't. And if it happens again here, no, all these people that are like, oh, burn it all down, revolution, this, they're not going to lead shit. They can't. It's like I tell them, look, I can't get you to register for vote to vote and show up to vote, but you want me to jump in a fucking foxhole with you to have a revolution? Fuck that noise. No, no. It's always going to be intelligent people. And at that time, that meant somebody that was wealthy. Nathaniel was a wealthy landowner, but he was on the outs with Berkeley. In fact, after he coalesced these people together and said, we're not doing shit your way anymore. We've got people that we're trading with. We're going to be more successful. Berkeley and the militia went at it. Berkeley and his militia went at Nathaniel Bacon and his militia, and they fought it out. And Nathaniel Bacon kicked Berkeley's ass. I mean, kicked his ass. And they razed Jamestown, burned it to the ground. And Berkeley hauled ass, went up by Massachusetts, where his stronghold was, where his rich supporters were. And then I absolutely will be floored if anybody without Googling can tell me what happened to Nathaniel Bacon in his revolution and why he's not a big seminal person we talk about in history. Because it's not a flattering story. It's not. Something immediately happened to Nathaniel Bacon. Yes, I'm using this as an excuse to drink great coffee. Some of y'all get it. He died. Yeah, but no. He shit himself to death. I'm not even kidding. He got dysentery. Right at the peak of the revolution, man. Peak of the rebellion. Yeah, I knew one of you would know it. I knew one of you, a couple of y'all knew it. Yep. He shit himself to death. And of course, Cletus can't run a revolution. As soon as Bacon died, it was over. It was over. Berkeley had sent off letters to the crown. They sent in 1,000 soldiers and a small armada of ships to restore order. Berkeley took charge again briefly. The crown did an investigation and said, "You're a dumbass." And Berkeley was removed. But what happened next? This is why I'm talking about why this is important. Okay. Why rebellions aren't good for the people. What happened next when the crown came in and they said, look, no fighting. They were trying to be peace brokers. Remember, these were all English citizens at the time. To the crown, neither side was the enemy. So they came in and they did an investigation. They realized, yeah, this guy's shit, man. We've got to bring in new leadership. Berkeley is shit. He's out. But to make sure this never happened again, do you think they implemented really great policy? Do you think the rich, wealthy landowners just said, we made a mistake? We did. Let's do this different. No. No. What happened next was the end of indentured servitude. This is when we became a slave nation. 100% full on slave nation. They wanted to make sure, because some of the strongest, most able bodied fighters in Bacon's rebellion were blacks. And they wanted to make sure that never happened again. And some of the most brutal totalitarian slave laws were codified and put on the books. A caste system was put in place, and the rest is history, leading directly to our Civil War in the 1860s. Yeah, it set in motion a series of laws and a culture. From you can directly go dot to dot to dot from Bacon's rebellion and the rich Johnny Got Rock's reaction to that, and the crown, and they're not give a shit too, because remember, the British went through their own, hey, you know what, we're not going to do slavery thing. That their whole timeline was different than ours. This is why I say rebellions are rarely good for the people. Rarely. It takes a long time to flesh this stuff out. And it's not just here. In case you want to think that it's a Western European thing, no, let me tell you about the Qing dynasty. Let me tell you, in China, the Qing dynasty. They were just like Louis the 16th, man. The Qing dynasty ruled from, let me see, I wrote it down. I don't remember the exact years by memory. 1644 to 1712. Or pardon me, 1912. 1644 to 1912. That's a long time. That's a long time. And they got to be really shitty leaders. And the fact that they were a monarchistic dynasty meant that there was fuck all the people could do about it. And they had rebellion after rebellion after rebellion. Some of them I'm sure you've heard of. There was a John Wayne movie about the Boxer Rebellion that we helped put down. All the rich people that were trading, the English, the French, us, everybody that was trading with China didn't support the Boxer Rebellion. So we helped put it down. Money, 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 man. Fuck freedom. Money. Eventually, the people of China just had enough. I mean, they had enough. And a guy by the name of Sun Yat-sen stood up and led his people into rebellion and gave birth to the Republic of China. He won. He did. He won. He did. He won. And he actually became the leader briefly. Do you think it was happily ever after that? Do you think it was happily ever after Sun Yat-sen took power? No, of course not, because then you would know who Sun Yat-sen is. You would instead of knowing who Mao Zedong is and the few things that they teach you, you would know who Sun Yat-sen is. No, of course it didn't. Sun Yat-sen was immediately deposed by one of his greatest allies, a military leader by the name of Yuan Shikai. This is Yuan Shikai. This is the stuff I read about, folks. This is how I entertain myself. This is how I keep myself informed. This is the lens. The reason I'm telling you this stuff is so that you're looking through the same lens I am. Because this is all going to come home to roost. The parallels are going to be They're going to come home to roost. And our mission, our purpose is going to be so clear on the other end of this. So stick with me. Stick with me. Shikai immediately deposed Sun Yat-sen. Well, he's a powerful guy, right? So things had to be good, right? Stable. Oh no, they suck so bad that about a year later, see, Sun Yat-sen, he wasn't killed. He wasn't. It wasn't a violent revolution that made him lose. No, Yuan Shikai said, "Look, I'm going to run things, and you can't fight me. We're friends. Let's stay friends." And Sun Yat-sen said, "Okay, fine. You want to run things? Run them. Just do a good job." It wasn't 2 years later, and Sun Yat-sen was back because Shikai was so bad. Boom, we got another revolution on our hands. What he called his second revolution. And he lost. He lost badly this time. He lost bad times. Because Yuan Shikai was actually a very powerful guy. During this time, there was not stability. There was factionalism. Much like what will happen if we have a revolution here, this country will factionalize. Because you see them. You got the people like me that I'm not a bigot. I don't hate people, but you've got people in our faction that hate Jewish people. Do you think we're going to break bread if there's a revolution? Fuck no. Fuck no, we're not. If we had a revolution in this country, we would factionalize immediately. And what it would look like is exactly what it looked like from 1970, 1917, all the way up to the 1950s. They had such a weak government in China. The Japanese invaded for the second time. Yeah, the second you had the second Sino-Japanese War, and it was brutal, man. It was brutal, absolutely, 100% one of the most brutal conflicts, deadliest conflicts in world history. It was fucking awful. Then, out of this chaos, a young commander who built his movement off what Sun Yat-sen had created, much the same methodology. You know, it started with the people, brought a movement in, rose to power, actually got his ass kicked quite a bit in the beginning. He was chased all over China in the beginning. But the people had had enough of the chaos. They had had enough of a government that was just as bad as the Qing dynasty. And then you had the Japanese invading, and the government is weak. It can't protect them, just like what happened in Bacon's Rebellion, but on a much larger scale. Bacon's Rebellion was a few hundred people. That entire history involves less than a few thousand people. Now we're talking about the nation of China, something that is much more reflective of where we are today. And Chiang Kai-shek, who was part of the established government that had come to power during this warlordic feudalism that was happening, actually did kick the shit out of a young rebel commander by the name of Mao Zedong. Was Mao Zedong a genius? No. Was he a particularly good leader? No. Was what happened in the Chinese Revolution good for the people? God, no. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And it's taken till today. We're talking modern China today, where it is finally turning a corner. It's finding that mix. Our European friends will attest to this. We have several European people in our audience, and they will tell you, like Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, all of these governments rate as some of the happiest places on earth to live for the people. I'm talking about you and me. The people are the happiest there because they figured this mix out of socialism and capitalism and democracy. And they've, some of it marries in a little bit of monarchy, and they blend it all together. It's not radical any one direction. It's kind of blends it all together, and it works. It works. They're the happiest people on earth, some of the healthiest people on earth. But China's just now, because again, their revolution led to extreme radicalism, and they went off on a tangent, man, and it was not good for the people. They are just now moving into to the realm of being a government that is good for its people, but not really there yet. And if you don't believe me, ask the Uyghurs. And this is a perfect example of how history flows into something modern that's going on. Ask the Uyghurs. The Uyghurs live in northeast China. You know what? I didn't have a map up. Let's go to the map. I want you to pay attention to Turkey here because it's relevant. The Uyghurs are a Turkic people. I noticed I didn't say Turkish. I said Turkic. They share a common ancestry, so they've been supported in by the Turkish government. There's a brotherhood there that in Turkey had been supporting the Uyghurs. All right, got rid of it. And the Turkic people live in Western China. In Western China, you see Xinjiang here. There's China, where you think about. There's Taiwan. Typically, most people, when you think about China or picture China, you think of this very lush jungle area. Here, Western China tends to be more arid, much more what you think about when you think about Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan. That's what Western China looks like. And there are Turkic Chinese. In this region, we call them the Uyghurs. They share common ancestry with the folks that are here in Turkey. Turkey, and like I said, this will apply. This does, all the stuff we're talking about in history directly applies to modern day politics. Turkey has abandoned the Uyghurs. They've just abandoned them. And they did because of us. Our weak leadership, our Marie Antoinette, let them eat brioche leadership. Turkey's moved hard towards China. They make a lot of money off of China. Yes, Turkey is part of Europe. part of the European Union. They are. I mean, they trade with the European Union. They within the European Union. I mean, they're not a member state, but they trade with the European Union. But that's changed. They're moving hard towards China, and it's our weakness. It's our division, that split that we've had with Europe because of Trump. Turkey. If you watch this show, if you're new, this is the kind of thing we talk about. I showed you several of the car brands that are popular and manufactured in Turkey. They've got battery plants there. They're working with European corporation. But again, the writing's on the wall. The division between the United States and Europe and our Marie Antoinette, laissez-faire, stupid ass Donald Trump. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, the stupid shit that Cletus is worried about, the attacking the LGBTQ plus community, all the shit that they do besides govern. Yeah, that comes at a cost. It comes at a cost. And literally, it's cost people their lives. Yeah, these things that I'm talking about historically do come home to roost. They do come home to roost. A more modern example of this is the Arab Spring. Something I'm sure you've heard of, but very few people actually know what it is. It was basically a revolution all across the Middle East. An uprising of young people against corruption, against governments that were oppressive and did not respond to their needs. They had, we're talking about inflation, we're talking about shitty economies, we're talking about any of this sounding familiar? And they revolted against it. And it did. It swept across the region. We're talking several countries were affected. Tunisia, for example, had a really shitty government that was overthrown, and then a democratic government was put in place. So, like, happy ending, right? Does this look like anybody's happy ending? I don't care who you are. This guy looks fucking scary. This Kais Said. He is now the dictator of Tunisia. If you don't know where Tunisia is, it's actually very relevant. Let me break the map out. So you see where we're talking about. And relax. I know Tunisia is not that important to you. Um, but it is very relevant, and you'll see why. But yeah, the Arab Spring swept across. Tunisia was one of the countries, and you're going to see a couple of countries we're going to talk about really quickly in this region. And again, this is Cliff's Notes, folks. I could get into what happened in these countries in detail. We could do a whole show on each one of them. But this Tunisia seems to be pretty pertinent in where it's located, especially to our European brothers and sisters who are right across the Mediterranean from it. What happens in Tunisia is important. They now have a dictator. And no, it's not going well. It's an oppressive government. They're not dealing with the issues that caused the Arab Spring to begin with. I mean, they had a brief flirtation with democracy, and then boom, back to autocracy. And it's not the only country that it happened in. One of the biggest things that came out of the Arab Spring was deposing Hosni Mubarak. He was the longtime dictator of Egypt. Brutal guy, brutal guy. And again, Egypt went into democracy, and the world didn't like the result. The world didn't like what the people of Egypt chose when they elected Mohammed Morsi. He was very much supported by the Islamic Brotherhood. People were terrified of another Iranian revolution. So the rich landowners, go back to the Bacon Rebellion, what happened after that? Did the rich landowners learn? No. Did they work with Morsi to try to, create, I don't know, an economy that was working? Because I'm telling you, it works. It works. If you look at how far China has moved, capitalism is actually great if you want to make change in a country, if you actually do the work. You don't just let your rich landowners come in and take advantage of people and suppress the people and just use it as a serf nation to get what you want and need out of it. In this case, you want to control the Suez Canal because of your modern Silk Road. Did they work with Morsi? No, they were terrified of him. So his most powerful general, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, said, "This is mine now." And they accused Morsi and his followers of having committed a murder, put a trial on. Morsi said, "This isn't a trial, this is a military coup." And he was right. I mean, he was right. It was a military coup. They had their rebellion. They got their democracy. They got a taste just within sight of a government where the people can influence it, just within sight of reforms. Now they have LCC. Do you think things ended well for the people of Egypt? How do you think it's going for the people of Egypt? Not too fucking well, I'll tell you. All of the economic drivers that led to the Arab Spring are still in place. The piss poor economy. The rich are still getting richer. The rich are still living the high life. The government doesn't work for the people. If you're rich, the government protects you. If you're poor, the government grinds you like you're on a millstone. But the difference is they learned. They learned. And did they learn that, hey, you know what? We should probably enact changes so people aren't pissed anymore. Did they learn that lesson? Fuck no. Just like Bacon's Rebellion. Did the landowners come back and say, we should probably make sure this doesn't happen again? No. The lesson they learned, which is a failed lesson, we know from looking at the French Revolution, that, yeah, this doesn't work when you do this. When Bonaparte did this, it didn't work. When his soldiers turned around and pointed their rifles back at the people of France, it didn't work. It never works. The lesson that El Sisi has learned is be brutal. Make sure that those groups that grew up and fomented that caused the Arab Spring, man, you track their phones. You make sure that they have no room to breathe, no freedom, no nothing. You put your boots on their neck and you stay there. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Put a pin in that. I want to catch up on the comments. Uncle Fatty, welcome. Glad to see you grabbing a membership there, bud. Mike Daly the Dim, was it JFK that said when peaceful government fails, violent revolution becomes inevitable? True words. True words. James Meyer, welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Donna Bell, thank you. Thank you for being so generous. There are free memberships. If you're watching this and are not a member, grab one and hit the join button that's down there. If you're watching this live, there's a join button. Hit that button. The people in this community want you to have a free membership. They want you to be part of the community. Julie Snow, good to see you. Texas Paul, been a member for 6 months. Love your information. I'm glad. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And thank you for allowing me. Thank you for allowing me to do this full time. And in honor of my 50th birthday, a little for the cussing jar and 10 memberships. You are too generous, Donna. You're too generous. Thank you. And I mean that in a good way. Thank you. Thank you very much for being such a great member of the community. ET, when you fire that first shot, you don't know whom will scream and die, how many lives shattered, how much blood is spilled. The 12th Doctor. Yeah, we're going there. We're going there. Stick with me. Don Huber, welcome to see ya. Good to see you. 920s, religious fundamentalism such as Scopes monkey trial, race baiting such as the Tulsa race massacre, violence against unions, and here we are. Yes, that is all. Those are all dots that you can connect to the response to the Bacon Rebellion in Virginia. It is all the tangent we went on. Melissa Grubb, build community with your people. When we all do better, we all do better. Amen, sister. Well said. Love that. Love that. Melania showed who she was on her jacket. I don't care. Do you? Yep. Might as well have painted on there. Let them eat brioche. Clueless, stupidity, ET, messaging people, affordability instead of culture wars, Citizens United instead of APAC. Are you ready to get involved? When do we do the work? It gets done. Yes. Welcome. Glad to see the new members. Robin McElvain. Or is it McElvain or McElvain? Let me know. Let me know. Dimebrew Garage. Hey, Paul, PSA, put a can of dry gas in your tank monthly to offset the higher ethanol in gas. Will save you big money unless you have a yellow gas cap. Amen. Amen. Chandra Patton, good advice. That's why I love our community. Chandra Patton, mailed my George ballot on Monday. All right. All right. That's where we're going with this, Chandra. That's where we're going with this. This show, um, that arrow is headed towards that target. Skeet Sayre, don't forget what Coolidge did to Haiti. You know, I was actually on the list, the Haitian Rebellion, and I decided not to go there because I didn't want it to be too much of a history class, and I wanted it to be some things that you never heard of and some things that you had heard of, but you didn't realize how badly they turned out for people. That was the calculus. When I wanted to show you the lens that I'm looking through, I wanted this in your minds when we talk about where we're going and what we're doing here and now. Oregon Wine Lady, it's King, pronounced Ching. I always thought it was the King Dynasty. Learned something new. Skeet Sayre, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Skeet Sayre, Canada used to be great until we got a leader that wanted to be friends with Reagan. With Reagan, he did to Canada what you see in Alberta. Yeah. It happened in the UK too. The Iron Lady. Skeet Sayer, it is so sad that many forgot the U.S. created China before Reagan. It was the S&P 1000. What he's talking about, and I didn't get all into the Chinese Revolution, is during the Sino-Japanese War. We actually supported the Chinese. There's a reason the Doolittle raid landed in China. We had actually supported uh, the formation of the Republic of China. Mataku, why do corporations seem to simp to Trump? Surely these decisions that cause people to dump U.S. dollars reserves and weaken trade relations is bad for them. Um, they're run by old white guys, and old white guys are having a problem. They are having a problem. And I have to tell you, you're seeing it with Cletus, you're seeing it with MAGA. People will not do what's best for them. They'll do what these cults and these rebellions, that's what they are. They indoctrinate people into cults. They do. They become cults. They don't ever act in their own best interest. They don't. And you have to look at Wall Street that way. They are in that cult. They cannot believe that their own superiority is a myth. They have believed for so long that they know better. So did the people going back to the Bacon Rebellion. Those wealthy landowners really believed that all of their reforms that led to so much disaster in our country, that was the right answer, man, because they made some money off of it right now. These are not big picture people. These are not incredibly intelligent people. They're not. That's one of the messages of this show. Stop idolizing billionaires. And I get a response to that on social media all the time from dumbass maggots. Oh, yeah. Well, you don't have billions and they have billions, so they're smarter than you. Really? I wouldn't trade my fucking life for Elon Musk's for all the tea in fucking China. I would not trade places with Elon Musk for anything. Anything. His life versus mine, I win. I win. Skeet Sear, Europe is the worst thing to happen to the people of the world. History proves it. Read what really happened in South America. Some of it is like King Leopold and what he did in Africa. But some really fantastic things. History is never that easy, and statements like that will lead people to do horrific things. Like right now, we've got a whole movement on the left that is anti-Jews, and they don't realize there are Jewish Americans that have no relations, no fealty. They don't give a shit about Israel. They're Americans. They just happen to be of the Jewish religion, but you have people in our own movement that fucking hate them because of blanket statements that people take as true. And that's where I'm going about this. There's a purpose behind this. I'm going somewhere. And it doesn't have anything to do with Israel or Jewish people or anything like that. It's much bigger than that. Chandra Patton, I watched the Dims Epstein survivors hearing last night. Still brings me to tears at some of their stories. Yep. And one of those survivors right now is in a goddamn ICE detention camp. We'll talk about that on another show. She's in a goddamn ICE detention camp. She's lived in New York for 20 years. She was going to go home. They fucking arrested her and threw her in a camp. Yeah. Dave Barone, watch Epstein victims testify yesterday. Where was Melania or the GOP? Yep. They don't care. Melania is too busy telling you, oh, they're not buying McDonald's. Oh, they should go to Burger King. Kathy Chorney, thank you for being so generous. Thank you for gifting the memberships, folks. Again, the join button's right down there. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this on replay and you can't join, hit the subscribe button. That is one of the metrics we need to work on. We grew so fast, so far that we're kind of nosing over. And YouTube judges us not based on, oh, hey, they're still doing good. They judge you on, hey, their growth is slowing down. People must not like them anymore. When we're still growing faster than tons of other channels. I mean, we're still one of the fastest growing channels on YouTube. That will really hurt us in the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button. It's hugely important. That and the thumbs up. Rena Scott, I laugh at Rump when he posted he sank all of Iran's navy. I guess he didn't notice what Ukraine did to the Russian navy when Ukraine doesn't have an actual navy. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, the Arab Spring toppled the leadership of Libya, next door to Tunisia, next door to Tunisia, Libya. They're still in a civil war. Was that revolution good for the people of Libya? Fuck no. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Was it necessary? Yeah, Muammar Gaddafi had to go. He was brutal. And you're like, Paul, what do you, man, you keep giving us mixed messages. Either rebellion's good or it's bad. It's either necessary or don't do it. Stick with me. I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. Same thing in Syria. Same thing in Syria. They deposed a brutal dictator there. The new guy comes in. He's like, I'm going to try to engage in reforms. It starts to factionalize, and Ahmed al-Shara is having to play the role of the dictator right now. He's using us. Yeah, he's using us. The same people that helped bring him to power that are now trying to factionalize Syria, we're killing them for him. Does he end up being a good leader or a bad leader? Still out. Can't judge Ahmed al-Shara yet. But yeah, this is a familiar path. So let's get to it. Let's talk about it. This is Nick Hunter. Nick Hunter. He's a billionaire, and he's the one that famously said, tax me before they break out the pitchforks. And we're going back to Buffett, and we're going back to where we're at now. We're going to land this plane. Yeah, he's the billionaire that said, tax me before the pitchforks come out. It's also accredited to Mitt Romney. But yeah, it was Hunter. So they know. I mean, some of them have read a history book and some of them are sounding the alarm. And I am too. I am too. I'm telling you, this doesn't end well. The Republicans have made a huge mistake. They think that they're going to be authoritarian. They think that they're going to gerrymander. They're going to make your votes not count. They think that they're going to hold on to power when they shouldn't. Nick Hanauer. Yep. They think that they're going to hold on to power when they shouldn't. When you failed as badly as you have, what needs to happen is you need to lose. That's what needs to happen. That's how we get stability. That's the beauty of democracy. We can enact change without killing each other, without the need for rebellion. And we're headed there, folks. We are. If you are kidding yourself into thinking, oh, that won't happen here, oh no. Oh no. You need to come down here to the South and you need to see these radical religious people and just see how militaristic they will become. All it takes is the right pain and the right guy with the right message, and we're in a revolution. We are not immune to it. And my message is, are revolutions necessary? Sometimes. Is it necessary for us? Not yet. but we're getting there. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. Now, the Republicans, like I said, are doing exactly the wrong thing. They're doing the same thing that the landowners back in Virginia did. They're like, oh, they're so arrogant. They cannot believe that they're fucking wrong. They have to believe by default, you're cheating. We're too goddamn good. We're fucking amazing. For you to be winning, it isn't we're failing. You're cheating. Because they won't even accept that they're failing. They won't. They'll just sit there and tell you, oh, it'll be fine soon. It's not going to be fine soon. And this is why we're in danger. This is the point of this show. This is where we're going to talk about why I want you to be ride or die, why I want you to put on the jersey. I'm ordering me a custom jersey in blue that says Democrat across the front, and it's got a 99 on it. I got 99 problems, but being a dumb fucking Republican's not one. So why do I fight the extremists in our own party? Why do I fight to get people to participate? Why do I fight? This is why. Rebellions suck for the people. And I could have shown you 20 more examples from history where it does not end well for you and me. Do they become necessary at times? Yes. If the Republicans turn us into a uniparty, we're going to have to kill each other. We are. I hope I don't get taken off YouTube for saying that, but that's where it'll go. If you can't lose, you don't have a democracy, and without democracy, that leaves us with one option for change, and that's violence. Yeah. The Republicans have gone down a very dark path, and it is based on their ignorance. It's based on their arrogance that they think they're so goddamn good. And that's what plays so well with these old white bigots. They have believed for years, for decades, for their entire lives, that they are a superior people to our Black brothers and sisters, our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters. They believe that in their core. That's why this messaging about immigration, about the other, about brown people, that's why it works with them, but just falls flat with us. For the same reason that the grifters always say, oh yeah, man, I created a fake AI account of this girl, and right wingers keep sending me money. But it doesn't work with the left. I don't know why. Because you think, you question. I know you question me all the time. I can tell you one of the most common questions whenever I say something that does not jive with whatever the flavor of the day, whether I say, talk about the importance of the Democratic Party, or I talk about an economic issue that's happening. I did a video the other day about how Iran is just dumping oil because they can't shut their wells down. And one of the questions that popped up, that's the perennial question, is, who the fuck are you? Who do you think you are? Guys, you have no idea the amount of reading and shit I do. And I just wanted to give you a little taste today so that you could look through this same lens that I'm looking through and at what's going on in this country, and hopefully come to the same conclusion that I have. Revolutions suck. And we've got an option. We've got an option. We've got a party, though, and I hate to put this caveat on it because I'm a proud Democrat. The Democrats have done fucking amazing. Our history is fucking fantastic. Are we imperfect? Yes. Yes, we are. All all governments are imperfect. Utopia doesn't exist. And that is the utopians are one of our biggest enemies. The utopians are one of our biggest enemies because they have a vision of the world that does not exist. And you can't govern with fantasy. That's where the brutality comes from. That's where Robespierre comes from. That's where Mao Zedong comes from. That's where Pol Pot comes from. These utopians create these brutalists. So, no, are the Democrats perfect? Nope. Will they ever be? Nope. No government ever is. But are they good? Fuck yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah. We all do better when we all do better. We all get along. Don't brutalize people just because they are who they are. Let people marry who they want to marry. Stop worrying about that shit. Worry about your goddamn potholes and your electricity and your water supply. Stop worrying about, Steve and Fred across the street that have been in a loving relationship for 40 years. Stop fucking focusing on that and focus on the boring shit. That's my Democratic Party. And I got to tell you, revolutions suck. Both sides are the other enemy. All parties are the same. Bull fucking shit. All that tells me is you're a fucking clueless idiot that hasn't paid attention to a single goddamn thing that's happened your entire life. Utopians, both sides, and radicals are our enemy. We must create a movement within the Democratic Party, the ride or die movement that is of people that can sit through 2 hours of a show like this, get a history lesson, apply that history lesson to what's going on here today, look at the big picture and say, you know what? Those people telling us not to vote for Democrats because of AIPAC, that's dumb. What we need to do is we need to elect every Democrat we can and then pave the way for the party to go the right direction, to stop allowing Israel to be such an influence in our government, because Netanyahu brags about how much he has bitched our government. Yeah, that's a real thing. It's created a fantasy inside Israel where you've got Israelis that are completely 100% detached from fucking reality. It's the radical right. They're living this delusion that their sky daddy has made them the anointed ones on earth. They're the most important chosen people on earth, anywhere. So, yeah, what are we going to do here? What is the point of this? What are we doing here? What is the point of being ride or die? This is the point. We're going to take the Democratic Party because it's the only functioning party we have in the most powerful nation on earth, the only one that has decent priorities. And we're going to put it in power. And we're going to do what has to be done because no government is perfect. Once those Democrats take power, is it going to be Valhalla? Is it going to be utopia? No, utopia doesn't exist. It doesn't. We're going to grab a hold of that Democratic Party. I'm going to take a fucking lasso. I'm going to lasso that son of a bitch, and I'm going to pull left as hard as I fucking can. because we need things like universal health care. We need to double down on education. We need to double down on infrastructure. We need to cut in half our military. We need to stop using gunboat diplomacy and start using soft diplomacy. There's so much we need to do, and only one fucking option to do it, because the other option is revolution. And that ends up with my children having a shitty life and chaos, my grandchildren having a shitty life and chaos, my great grandchildren maybe starting to deal with these issues. My great great grandchildren might enact change. And that's not good enough. Because all you have to do, this is so fucking easy. I got a guy telling me on the internet all the time that words don't fix this. Action fixes this. We need to go into the Capitol and we need to really, dude? Okay. Your sales pitch to me is you want me to use my platform, my followers, and my movement to do what you want me to do. You want me to do that, okay? Sell me, bitch. Sell me on it. What have you done? Are you registered to vote? Have you voted? No. Oh, have you participated in any politics whatsoever? No. Oh, no, not a fucking thing. Okay. How about you sit down and shut the fuck up and let the people who want to actually do the fucking work do the fucking work? Stop slapping people in the face that do the fucking work. I have on Friday 2 guests. Dax Alexander, who's been working his ass off here constantly. That man every damn day goes out and works to shake hands, meet people, put coalitions together every damn day. And I'm going to elevate him on our platform. Because that motherfucker over there that wants to burn it all down is slapping him in the fucking face. That's what this is all about. I got Colin Allred coming on here. We've got a primary where the Democratic Party have put 2 outstanding fucking candidates up, and they're fighting it out in a primary. We had Julie Johnson on here. You know how much we love Julie Johnson. I've fought for Colin Allred in the past. I have. They're fighting it out, man. Colin Allred's going to be here on Friday to make his case, man. But right now he's out meeting with people, doing the work. But all you have to do is register to vote, support a candidate if you can, throw a cup of coffee money at them, do what you can. If you can, if you're spurred to, you would rather do this than, I don't know, have a bloody revolution. Maybe do a little postcarding for a candidate you believe in. I'm not telling you what candidate you have to choose. I'm not telling you if you've got to be Colin Allred or you've got to be Julie Johnson. I'm not telling you that. I didn't ever tell you if you had to be Tallarico or Jasmine Crockett. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you, do it, because we can make the changes that we need to make. We can make the changes where inflation isn't killing everyone. People can earn a living. People can get an education. We can have basic health care. We can do all of this simply by walking into a booth and pushing a button. Doesn't that sound better than killing each other? That's all it takes, man. And that's what this is all about. It's about putting together a community of people that aren't the stupids. The stupids will never, ever reach with a message like we just had, ever. They're not capable. They're not capable. It's not in their heart to give a shit enough. So we have to message to them, to reach into their little world and say the thing that matters. Right now, this economic hardship that's coming down the path is real. It's, they're paying the same prices at the grocery store you are. This is an opportunity where they'll pull the wax out of their ears and they'll be able to hear something. But if what they hear is radicalism or something that is takes them from their self-identity into something that is not, you'll lose them. You'll lose them. You will. You're not going to take Jim Bob, who's grown up hating the LGBTQ plus community, and telling him he's got to be okay with every aspect of the LGBTQ plus community. When that dude rides by with his ass cheeks hanging out and his dick in a sock at a Pride Day parade, you can't tell Jim Bob that's okay. You can't. You can't. But you can tell Jim Bob, hey, you know what, man? I get it. We're different. These people bother you. These people existing bothers you, yada, yada, yada. Just don't be a fucking problem. Let's focus on shit that we have to do with the business, this, that, and the other. I don't judge people. I know people. I have family members that are gay. I know they're just good people that just want to live their lives. So you just don't be a problem. Just don't be a problem there. That's the best you can expect out of fucking Jim Bob. Now, meanwhile, we're going to reach people that are decent people that never thought it through, that never understood how are gay people born? How are people? They're real people. Oh my God, this isn't a choice. This isn't somebody that is a deviant. They're just real people that are just born because of the way reproduction works. Oh my God. Well, yeah, those messages will reach those people. But if you send that message to fucking Jim Bob, it's over. He's going to work against you. At very least, we need Cletus and Jim Bob staying the fuck home. And that's where you come in. You're the ones that can big picture this shit. You're the ones that can look and say, okay, what does our message need to be? What do we need to do? What do we need to do? When we're talking to each other, some of these messages work great. But what do we want to pitch? How do we want to respond to the Republicans? Because they're already, we've talked about it before, guns, immigration, gays, yada, 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 religion, God, all of that. They're doing the same shit over and over again. They are. They're running home to mama. Bigotry. They're running home to mama. That's what the Republicans are doing this election. We need to have our messages prepared. Because at very least, that message needs to get Jim Bob and Cletus to stay the fuck home. I don't need them to join our movement. I don't. That's what I've got you for. You're the people with the brains to do this shit. I don't need Jim Bob and Cletus. I'm not out here trying to rule the world and get everyone to follow me and give me the most clicks and, the most likes and I don't give a shit about that. What I care about is this movement. And I care about it, I'm going to be honest with you, for the ones I love. I care about it for the ones I love. I don't want my children caught up in a revolution. I don't want them fighting a revolution. I don't want them leading a revolution. Not when we could just vote and just make the changes. So pretty please, be right or die. And when I say be ride or die, I mean wear your pin. Wear your pin. When you go to protests, have your pin on. When we go to the conventions, have your pin on. Let everybody know who and what you are and that it's okay. We don't know how to burn it all down. We just have to participate. Democracy right now is still working. We are still winning elections. The Republicans are going absolutely the wrong direction that historically has led to nothing but awful outcomes. But right now, we can win the midterms. And it doesn't matter how many times I put that message out. I still get the same person that shows up in my comments and says, they're never going to let us vote. They're just going to cheat and take it. All this negative, vote suppressing, it doesn't matter, all that shit. That's your enemy. I know they're scared and they're using their social media. A lot of them, that's just who they are. Some of them are bots, I'll be honest with you, designed to implant that message. Don't resist, it doesn't matter. But some of them are people that are just using their social media to express their fears. And I get that. But it doesn't matter. They're the enemy. They are. They're suppressing the vote. That's my enemy. That's the enemy of the ride or die movement. Because the message of the ride or die movement is the very least you can do is register and vote. Oh, but they're going to make it really hard to register. I didn't say if it's easy, register. I said register. Whatever the fuck you've got to do it. And vote. And vote Democrat. Yeah. Even for Democrats that piss us the fuck off, if they caucus, if there's nothing there. Now, I'm not saying you got to love a guy like John fucking Fetterman. He pisses me off too. He does. And yes, I am going to support. This guy would have to do such a fucking 180 from now until 2028 when his primary is that it would have to be, you would think that they fixed his stroke. Yeah, you know what I mean? He would have to do such a fucking 180 for me to not go out and support his primary opposition. That's what it's about. That's what all I'm promising you is work. That's it. That's all I'm promising you is work. But if you can put your focus on the boring stuff and you can do the work, we don't have to have a revolution and it doesn't have to be ugly. We can really fix things. We can. We can. So that's my sales pitch. That's my sales pitch. That's why I'm begging you to get involved, to become part of the ride or die movement. If you can watch this, if you can sit through this, you're obviously not one of the stupids. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Old school, welcome. When you cannot vote, it is an invitation to revolt. Amen. Netadal, good to see you. Glad to see our Danish people here. Our rebellion here in Denmark led to a major lockout in 1899. It ended in something called the September Agreement in 1899. Yeah. Revolutions can, sometimes they're necessary, but they rarely, if ever, end well. Mighty cool. Even if you're in a gerrymander and think your vote doesn't count, it does count. It shows the skewing. If 70% vote and we still lose, it's a signal. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. The only reason Republicans are as awful as they are is because people don't show up and vote, so they're really comfortable. They think that they're so great and perfect that people support them. No. If I sit somebody down and I peel the labels away and I just start talking about, hey man, you think Medicare is a good idea? Overwhelmingly, everybody does. Everybody does. Do you think we could maybe do Medicare for everybody? Overwhelmingly, people are like, sure. But the minute you put the labels on it, the teams separate. And I'm telling you, we have to do the work, folks. We do. Mike Daly to them. Tuberville had a sign: assimilate or go home. Republicans need to be sent home before the Borg. Yeah, before they become the Borg. You know, that's particularly offensive to me because, like I said, you can't grow up in South Texas without growing up in the Mexican culture. It becomes your culture. And to see somebody say, you got to become fucking meatloaf and potatoes or get the fuck out. Fuck you, man. Do you know how much this culture, everything, this hat, this isn't a white guy's hat. This isn't a white guy's hat. All of this culture that I grew up in, it's Mexican. It comes from the vaqueros. Chaps, you think that's cowboys? No, that's some 60s fucking Hollywood shit. That came from the Mexicans. Rodeos, cattle dive, rodeo, that is a Mexican word. And you've got this fucking idiot saying, become meatloaf and mashed potatoes or go home. Well, fuck your meatloaf, man. I'm having me some carne asada. I'm having some rice. I'm having some beans. I'm drinking a Dos Equis, and fuck you. That's the same shit they told the Italians and the Irish and fuck this guy. Mug idea. Revolutions suck. Vote. Yeah, that's a great idea, dude. That is a great idea. Weird Idaho liberal. I'm thinking the Republicans want a revolution. Warhawks, foreign and domestic being the brand. They're just like the wealthy property owners in Virginia. They think they're so damn good and so right that their ideology must be fucking forced on you, and they're willing to hurt anybody to do it. Same thing. This shit isn't new, man. Like I said, these are never new tracks. It's always a cover of an old song. Michael Anthony, no party is the same. No. I-11 Finn. I don't know how to read that, brother, but welcome. I'm glad you're here. Hope to see a chat that you kind of straighten me out on how to say that. I got this thing about pronouncing people's name. Clarence W.D., good to see you, man. A simple way to show how bad a revolution can be is to look at the life of the average Southerner during the Civil War and how the South is still in recovery. Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Well said, sir. Well said. Jerry Ring, like my bro, thanks. Biden is a body double. I have no idea what that means, man. I have no idea. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the support, but I don't know what that means. Glenna Marley, over 70% of ES&S voting machines compromised. See, that's that message, man. That's that message that kind of tells people, don't bother to vote, man. The voting machines are rigged, this, that, and that. But we're winning elections every goddamn day. These two things don't jive. They don't jive. There's an entire Republican Party. There's an entire Republican. There's an entire Democratic Party establishment with lawyers that go into each one of these districts. And they look at the voting trends and, they're not saying, well, yeah, okay. They fucked us on the voting machines. It's cool. No. Chad on Instagram doesn't have secret fucking knowledge that the Democratic Party doesn't have about voting machines. We've got to we've got to get over that. That's voter suppression speak, and you don't even know it, man. You don't even know. That's what you're telling people. That message is fuck it. It doesn't matter. Don't vote. The other side of that, what's on the other side of that line is rebellion and violence. I don't know, man. Vote. Vote. If they try to cheat with the voting machines, we'll catch them. We will. Crafty Ass Gardner, with some of them down here in Tejas, we have to tell them they can continue to worship their Pharisees while also trying to recognize this corrupt regime is why they can't afford to live. It's tricky. Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, best you can hope for with most of those people, you're not going to reach them. The best you can hope for is that they don't show up to continue to support this. And our messaging needs to be geared towards that. Jerry Ring, can I show you my hat with its pin? I'm a pin guy. All right, brother. All right. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Love Mark Elias. Love the guy. Love the guy. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get it done. Let's get out there. I mean it. We're going to have a lot. We're going to have a lot over the next. I'm going to take a little time off here in the coming weeks, recharge, come back like a beast, because man, we're going to be in the thick of it. That 6 months run up to an election. That's when you're going to have all of these meetings, all of these great freaking rallies, all of that. When you're there, sport your pen, so you can get your message out to like-minded people that understand that we are a movement within this party. We are a movement to get this done. No purity tests, no utopians, no Debbie Downers that try to keep people not voting. None of that. We're either in it to win it or bye. On that note, enjoy some Texas cities. Oh, wait a minute. Don't forget, Colin Allred, Dax Alexander this Friday. You're not going to want to miss that. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.